now it's on.
I will unless it goes like, because I got to be on KOT radio at 9:08, and I got to do it in studio because the manager doesn't know how to do the remote stuff. So, but yeah, I do want to. He'd like to do that interview today. It sounds like Vicky wants to.
Justin's gone. That's what I was asking.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. I'll just activate when we come up in the queue.
Yeah. Well, yeah, activate when he calls on.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Well, do I gotta go on KFT radio in studio at 9:08, so if it gets close, but, yep, thanks.
Good morning. Welcome to the July 10th, 2025 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to any item on the agenda, there are speaker request forms to the left of the dais. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the secretary. At this time, if you'd like, we would like you to ask any member of the audience that has a cell phone to please turn it off, or any electronic device, either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. And if you need to take a call, please step out in the hallway so that the meeting is not disrupted. The public item hearing on item 25VA010 is hereby opened.
Mr. Chair, if
Yes.
you could take a motion on the minutes, please.
Oh, okay. If we have any motions on the approval of the 2026, June 26, 2025 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes, do we have a motion to approve? Haven moved to approve, and Mike seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? The minutes for the June 26, 2026 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes are approved. Okay, we'll now begin public hearing on item 25VA010.
Good morning, Chair, Planning Commission, Cassie Hayes, current planner. The variance before you is a request to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 20 feet for a detached garage. We are currently on the property located at 1301 East St. Charles Street. This property is currently zoned medium-density residential district with a future land use of urban neighborhood. And access to this property is currently off of both Sioux Avenue, and East St. Charles Street. What the applicant is proposing to do here, currently this property is developed only with a 662 square foot single-family dwelling. What they are proposing to do is construct a 1,000 square foot detached garage, approximately 52 feet east of the single-family dwelling. The two existing approaches that are on this property from Sioux Avenue and the one that exists from East St. Charles Street, both of those approaches are being removed as part of city street projects that are happening in this area. and they will be replaced by a single access off of East St. Charles Street on the east side, as you can see here, which will provide the sole access to the property and also direct access to this proposed detached garage. So when we are looking at variance requests, we are looking at some very specific criteria. So detached garages are a permitted use in the medium-density residential zoning district. In addition, you will also hear during the Planning Commission agenda, this does qualify as an oversized garage because it is exceeding the footprint of the dwelling. So you will also hear a conditional use permit request pertaining to this property as well. So this is not granting a use which is otherwise excluded in this zoning district. The one thing that we did look at specific to this variance request is within the current zoning regulations as they exist today, the provisions of that title do not necessarily prevent the applicant from constructing this garage, reconfiguring it a little bit, and meeting setback requirements. However, there is an inconsistency in the code as it currently exists with regard to front yard setbacks, specifically for detached garages in residential zoning districts. As it currently exists today in the low-density residential districts 1 and 2, a property that is accessed from a local street, like East St. Charles Street, is allowed to have the same front yard setback as a single-family dwelling. In addition, in the medium-density residential district, which is what this property is zoned, detached garages where properties take access from arterial streets or collector streets are also allowed to have the same setback as a single-family dwelling. Conversely, in the medium-density residential district, taking access from a local street, that setback requirement is missing. So in this case specifically, medium-density residential taking access from a local street, detached garages are considered accessory structures which require a 35-foot front yard setback. So staff did look at that when we were reviewing whether or not to support this variance request. The request before you to reduce that setback to 20 feet is in harmony with the other residential zoning districts, and the setback discrepancy in the code does create a unique condition pertaining to this property that would support approval of the variance request. Staff will be bringing forward an ordinance amendment to correct this discrepancy. It's going to get put together in with some other setback and area regulations that we're looking at as well. I do want to point out that this, as you can see on this site plan right here, that detached garage will sit approximately 20 feet from the east side yard and about 13 feet from the south yard. That does put this structure about 45 feet from the dwelling to the east and about 63 feet from the dwelling to the south. There is also a tree buffer on the south and east property lines that will help negate and mitigate some of the visual impact to the adjacent properties with this request as well. And the 20-foot front yard setback that is being requested does still provide adequate space for parking in front of the garage without encroaching into the right-of-way or overhanging onto the sidewalk, which is something that we looked at as well. Here is an elevation of what that garage structure is going to look like. So this is the property looking at it from East St. Charles Street. As you can see, they did post their sign as required. This is a little more direct look at where that garage will be built. You can see those existing mature trees that are going to provide some pretty good screening for this garage. This is looking east down East St. Charles Street and west down East St. Charles Street. East St. Charles Street, being a local street, a residential street, does see some pretty low traffic volume. So staff is ultimately recommending approval of the variance request to reduce the front yard setback to 20 feet for the detached garage based on the inconsistency in the code creating a unique circumstance, and this being a reasonable adjustment necessary for this garage. I will stand for any questions, and the applicant is in the audience as well.
Mr. Chair,
Chair recognizes Vicky.
thank you. First, we'd like to thank the applicant, Jim Ledner, who did take time and energy to review the code and point out the discrepancy of setbacks for detached accessory structures between low-density residential and medium-density residential. The reason the setback difference is there is that medium-density residential does allow for apartment projects. And when we stood up the setbacks for detached accessory structures, we took into account those larger garage components that we sometimes see with apartments. But we didn't take into account that some medium-density residential properties are just single-family homes, and it's a standard detached garage. So we will amend the ordinance to ensure that we're still protecting neighborhoods from those larger structures. But on something like this, once the code is amended, this variance would not be required. So we hope you join us in granting this variance today.
I don't have any speaker request forms, so do we have anyone on, the chair recognizes Kelly.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a good placement, a good fit for this. It sounds like there's city improvement projects going on, and that approach that's part of the city package, not on the homeowner, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the sidewalk, it says proposed sidewalk, is that on the homeowner, or is that part of the citywide improvements for the area, do you know?
I'll defer to Todd.
Chair recognizes
That'll be part of a city project to put the sidewalk in.
Okay. It looks like a good use and improvement of the area, and I'm for it. Thanks.
The chair recognizes Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to make a motion, but maybe if, Eric, did you want to speak before I do that?
Oh, I just had a question, Karen.
The chair recognizes Eric.
Yeah.
So my question is pertaining to the approach for the garage. That's a new approach? It's not existing?
Right,
Okay.
yep, it will be
Okay.
new.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I was just going to make a motion to approve this variance based on the facts of the unique situation that's there, and so that's my motion.
Second.
Do we have any further discussion from the Planning Commission? Okay. There'd be no further discussion. Karen made the motion to approve, and Haven seconded it. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And the motion passes. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn from the Zoning Commission? So, Mike made the motion to adjourn, and we have a second from Mike. There being, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there being no further business, and the motion was approved and seconded, the Zoning Board of Adjustment unanimously carried, and they adjourned the meeting at 7:13. We now commence the City of Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for July 10th, 2025. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the Planning Commission agenda, there are speaker request forms on the table along the left wall. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item that you wish to speak to and hand it to the staff seated on the left of the dais. Please continue to keep your cell phone or electronic devices off in a silent mode. And again, if you need to take a call, please step out in the hallway so that the meeting is not disrupted. On the consent calendar, items 1 through 5 have been placed on the consent calendar and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with the staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of the Planning Commission are recommendations to the City Council. The City Council will make the final decision with the exception of the following items: 25 PD 019, 25 PD 020. The Rapid City Planning Commission's action on these items are final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Department of Community Development by close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Are there any items 1 through 5 that the staff would like to remove from the consent calendar for separate consideration?
No, thank you.
Are there any items 1 through 5 that the Planning Commission would like to remove from the consent calendar for separate considerations? Are there any items 1 through 5 that any audience member would like to remove from the consent calendar for separate consideration? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 5 in accordance with the staff's recommendations. We have a motion to approve from Mike and a second from Eric. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So items 1 through 5 are approved. Excuse me. Okay, the public hearing on items 250R021 is hereby open.
Hello again. So this one before you is the conditional use permit request that goes along with the variance that was just approved. This is the request to allow the oversized garage. As I touched on before, this is a 1,000 square foot garage. The existing single-family dwelling on this property is about 662 square feet. So the garage does exceed that by a little shy of 400 square feet. When we're looking at oversized garages, there are some criteria that are specific within the code to an oversized garage. The existing single-family dwelling does appear to have a light brown earth tone color scheme with a stucco type exterior siding. The detached garage, as you can see in the elevation drawings, is proposed to be a plank siding, and no color scheme is indicated. So I do want to note that by code, this garage must maintain the color scheme and building material of that single-family dwelling. It does include, as you can see, some residential and architectural features like windows and material variations that do harmonize with the residential character of the property and the surrounding neighborhood. There are those existing mature trees that are located on the east and south borders that will help to mitigate some of that impact view to the neighboring properties. And the other thing that we look at in terms of oversized garages is we look at placement on the property. Traditionally, we do prefer that oversized garages be recessed behind the dwelling. However, because this property is a dual frontage lot, it's a corner lot, and the placement of the existing single-family dwelling, which was built in 1946, it does prohibit a location where this detached garage could be fully recessed behind the dwelling. So the location does appear to be the least injurious to the neighborhood. And so staff did find that this does generally meet the requirements of an oversized garage, and given that the variance request has been approved to reduce that front yard setback, staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit for the oversized garage with stipulations. I'll stand for any questions.
Seeing no one waiting for a question,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I
The
actually...
chair recognizes Vicki.
Thank you. I actually have a question for the applicant. Jim, is it going to be a hardship with that stipulation that the garage has to match the color and building material of the existing home?
Sir, if you could identify yourself, please.
Good morning, Jim Lettner. I am the applicant. I can certainly match the color of the building. That building is in very poor shape. It's stucco. That neighborhood needs some investment. In my opinion, this garage is going to be quite a bit nicer than the existing structure, quite frankly. I can match the color, but I don't want to make the garage stucco. I don't think that's in anybody's best interest.
Vicki?
Yeah, I thought that might be the case, and so with that, I would offer a friendly amendment that on stipulation number 2, we do a strike-through on building material. If the color scheme matches, I think it'll pull it together. It looks like then it's a part of the same property. I didn't want to put that hardship on Jim to stucco a garage in today's age. That's just not something that we would typically see done.
Chair recognizes Eric Hikas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We ready for a motion?
Well,
Okay.
the public item, hearing on item 250R21 is hereby closed. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, and we have a motion?
Yeah, are you guys ready? Okay. I move approval of the conditional use permit with stipulations and amended stipulation on the color matching, color match but not stucco. Is that fair? Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
So we have a motion from Eric and we have a second from Karen. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes. The public item on item N, 250A002 is now open.
Good morning, Jessica Olson with Current Planning. This can be really quick. This is an ordinance amendment regarding procedures for vacation of right-of-way and section line highway. This amendment doesn't affect anything with the Planning Commission, but we just wanted to let you know there is a slight change. The state requirements for this type of application does not require a set for hearing that we currently have in our code. So when it goes to council, it goes to set for hearing. It's not an action item at that point. And so we're just removing the fact that it needs to go to set for hearing, and it'll just be placed on the council agenda per the state code and have the same public notice requirements. So that is once each week for at least 2 successive weeks before it's heard. And that's it.
Mr. Chair, if I could add. And I'm glad to see that we have 2 council members present today. It's so difficult. We have done this routinely for years where we take items before council and we put them as set for hearing. They're just setting it. It's not to be approved or denied. They're just setting something for hearing. It's confusing. So, and that state of confusion that we've had on several items of late on whether or not they should be discussing and determining whether or not they should even set something for hearing. We just challenged ourselves and looked at state law and do we really need this step? And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Jessica and Kinsley, who did the hard work of doing the research to determine that we can eliminate this process and it's going to make it easier for council going forward.
I don't have any speaker request forms. Does the Planning Commission have any questions? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve. We have a motion to approve from Mike and a second from Eric. All those in favor? Jeff, I'm sorry, Jeff was the second. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes. So the public hearing on item 25T1007 is hereby open.
Good morning, Mike Dugan with Finance. This morning we're going to present a new TIF application for an affordable housing project that will be for senior housing. This is the proposed TIF boundary. And then on here, this right here would be the subject property. The current zoning is of the property is medium density residential. There is also general commercial and some flood hazard and civic center within this district boundary. The project details, there are going to be 38 apartment units to be constructed on the 300 block of North Street. They will be for senior affordable housing, so that would be the age range of 55 plus. So it would be for income qualifying tenants making 60% less of AMI with corresponding rent at 30% of the tenant's income. So the proposed monthly rents for a one-bedroom would be $955 per month and a two-bedroom of $1,145 per month. There'll be 34 one-bedroom units and 4 two-bedroom units. There'll be a community room with kitchen, and the main entrances will be designed with a foyer and equipped with a security access system. The total TIF request amount is a little over $4.6 million. This includes $2,221,000 for site improvements, and then the additional for financing, and then $25,000 city administration fee to $15,000 county administration fee. The district is anticipated to be classified as an affordable housing project, so would not oppose an additional levy on any Rapid City area school district residents to be made up across the entirety of the state. The parcels within the TIF boundary currently have an assessed valuation of a little over $15 million. And the project is going to be structured as a grant for the improvements to be made. It doesn't have a large component of public infrastructure for this project. The funding sources, so with the TIF, there is LIHTC funding, the SDHDA funding in their primary debt, and their deferred developer fee. The total project is estimated to cost a little over $10.6 million to construct. It's kind of a busy slide, but this is the components of what the developer is asking for as far as the improvement costs for the TIF. So there's excavation, sanitary sewer, some water main, stormwater, erosion control. There's going to be a retaining wall. If you've seen this property, there is some challenges to developing this lot, so there will be a retaining wall component of this request. The need for TIF, this wouldn't be able to go forward as a low-income project, so the applicant would lose the low-income housing tax credits as part of this. So if the TIF wasn't approved, it would take it out of that affordable housing criteria. As you can see, the one-bedroom would increase from $955 a month to a little over $1,500 a month. So that would take it out of the affordable housing criteria classification for the state, and that would put it into more of the local criteria. So this project isn't feasible going forward without the use of TIF, because the applicant would have to borrow more from their primary lender, which would be a bigger monthly debt burden on the project. Therefore, they'd have to raise the rents. The projected TIF income or increment income for this project. So the request amount is $4.6 million. So the increment payments coming in is a little over $3.5 million. So there's going to be projected a shortfall of this not paying off within the 20 years that's allowable by the state. I'll address that here in an upcoming slide. The amortization, this was taken from the applicant's application. This is probably an optimistic approach. It's recognized there's probably going to be a balance. It might be in the $1 million range of when the developer in year 18, we'll talk about I think in the next slide, would have to guarantee that they would refinance this debt into their primary debt. The developer is asking the city of Rapid City finance the TIF loan portion that would either be normally self-financed by a developer, or they would go out and obtain a bank loan. Those bank loan funds would be used first. Once those funds are certified, and any increment generated from the construction of the project, any development within that boundary would then go pay back the bank loan. With the city, if the city was to move forward with that financing, it gets a little more difficult with recognizing there might be a balance at the end of this. So the yearly projections, the rate of return is just under 11%. With their primary debt, the estimated rents coming in, budgeted vacancy, their total operating expenses, replacement reserve, net cash flow of just under 50,000 on an annual basis. So the debt service coverage ratio is 1.25 times, and that's the average in the banking industry as far as what a bank likes to see on a project, as far as on that debt service, they can cover it 1.25 times with that return of just under 11% for this project. This does qualify with the new council-approved TIF policy as infill development. It doesn't extend the development pattern. There's no extension of roads, water, sewer. It's generally surrounded by existing development and served by existing fire and ambulance services within the standard response time, so it does meet that criteria. Development schedule, if this project was to be approved by the Planning Commission and Council, it's anticipated that the project would start construction this fall, later in this year, and be approximately done in November of '26, with leasing to begin the end of next year and to be leased up, anticipated in the spring of 2027. So here's some renderings of the project, the proposed look of the project. So you can see there's some challenges with this lot, and as it's set vacant for a number of years. So some of these components in the TIF ask would be to address those issues with that lot. Another view of the proposed project. Here is a picture of the proposed lot. You can't really see the drop off, but there are some challenges. This would be looking out towards Fifth Street, and this would be looking down towards going to East Boulevard. So I do want to note that this applicant is the same applicant for the Sagebrush Flats Affordable Housing TIF number 90. That was also a grant that was approved by the Planning Commission and City Council, just under $9.5 million, and that included the financing and administration costs. That was 180 low-income apartment units targeting rents at 60% AMI or lower, so that was classified as an affordable housing project by the state. The construction is complete, and they are now leasing the units. And here are just some pictures of this recently completed project that is now leasing. Now, the staff recommendation, as I touched on briefly earlier, there are some challenges. The first is the TIF subsidy is larger than past recent projects that were approved by the Planning Commission and Council. For example, the Canham Heights Affordable Housing TIF that was approved last year had a subsidy of just under $50,000 per unit. Those were also 252 low-income units. There were 51 of those units that were also dedicated to senior living. And then the applicant's own Sagebrush Flats Affordable Housing TIF, which is also a low-income project, had a subsidy of just over $52,000, and that was 180 units. This would be a little over $120,000 per apartment unit. So, as I stated previously, the applicant is requesting the city finance this request at a rate of 5%. The Canham Heights Affordable Housing Project was a city-financed TIF at that rate of 5%. The Canham Heights project, it was or is anticipated to pay off within the 20 years. The challenges with this request is it's anticipated there's going to be a balance. So the applicant is proposing to issue a guarantee that by year 18 or at year 18, they would refinance whatever the balance is of the city loan request and put it into their primary loan at that time. The city, if it was approved by the commission and the city council, the city would be the lender. The city does act as the bank in that case. There will be a lien, a mortgage against the property. It will be a junior lien behind the primary lending. So there's a challenge there, but also there'd be a guarantee by the business entity, and then the members, the personal guarantee of the members involved with that, just like a typical bank loan would be. The issue is if there's economic factors, there's some challenges at year 18. that if it wasn't be able to be refinanced in the primary debt, at year 20, if there is a balance, the state automatically by statute would dissolve this TIF, and if there is a balance, the city would lose its primary source of repayment with that increment cash flow coming in. So the city would have to look either from the business guarantee, a personal guarantee, or find another source of cash flow to recapture to make the city whole on the loan side of things. The project boundary is bigger to capture some developed properties. That's not unusual to capture a non-applicant owned vacant lot or developed property to help with repayment of the TIF. With this one, it's anticipated with it not paying off within the 20 years, even with those additional developed properties, it's not going to have a zero balance by year 20. The last slide here, the active TIF districts. So as of Monday, there are 20 active TIF districts now with the approval of the Rapid City Destination District and the Rapid City Catalyst District. So now there's a total of 20 districts. Those two approved Monday were both anticipated to be classified as economic districts. That moves it from 10 current economic districts to 12. So the 2.21% of the Rapid City's taxable valuation, once again, we're allowed 10% of that total valuation per statute, includes the two that were approved on Monday. And it also includes the proposed to get to that 2.21%. So we're still within that allowable 10%, and there's still plenty of room to grow with additional TIFs. And Mr. Chair, I would like to ask if it's allowable, a representative for the project would like to speak on behalf of the project and then to kind of address what the staff concerns are as the staff is recommending to deny this request.
Yes, is the representative available right now? Okay. Sir, if you could just please identify yourself when you get to the podium.
Hi, I'm Jason Bowl with Blue Line Development. I have a form here that I can turn in. Is this one? Both of them are working. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be up here and speak on behalf of this project. I'm Jason Bowl with Blue Line Development. Blue Line Development is an affordable housing development company based out of Missoula, Montana. We're proud to say that we've completed over 3,500 multifamily affordable housing units across 8 states. Including 2 projects here in Rapid City. Discovery Village, located off of East Anamosa Street, that serves families earning 30% AMI to 60% AMI. And then Mike spoke about our newest development, Sagebrush Flats, located off of East Omaha Street. 180 units serving families earning 60% AMI or less. This new proposal, Sunridge Apartments, is 38 units serving seniors earning 60% AMI or less. Seniors is defined by HUD as 55 and older. I didn't make that definition, but HUD did. I'm just going to jump right into the financing of this project. We've been awarded $512,000 in annual tax credits by South Dakota Housing Development Authority. That equates to about a $4.1 million equity investment into Rapid City. We've also have $700,000 in home financing that's committed by the state as well. Our last piece of our capital stack is our TIF financing. And we are requesting $4.6 million in TIF financing. Now, I think that number is just a little bit misleading because the way that we're structuring this is a loan from the city to the project, and the city, and I'll break it down for you, where Mike had alluded to our improvements being at about $2.2 million. The additional $2.4 million is a return to the city. So that's interest paid to the city. Mike had stated that, I think he thought our projections were maybe a little bit optimistic in repaying the TIF in year 20. But if you look at the TIF packet, we are projecting that the TIF is fully repaid between years 19 and 20. We thought that was cutting it a little close. It is not our intention to have the taxpayers or the city be on the hook for this loan. Our idea is to provide a corporate guarantee for full repayment of this TIF prior to year 20. And I think we have in our TIF application that will happen in year 18. It could happen prior to that. And the mechanism that we use to do that is a refinance. The way that these tax credit deals are structured, we have a limited partner equity investor that purchases the tax credits, gives us the $4.2 million in equity. They realize the benefit of the tax credits from years 1 to 10. Our initial compliance period is 15 years. So after that 15-year period, we have to refinance and get our limited partner investor out of the deal. They've realized all of the benefit of the tax credits. By year 10, they want out of the deal. So what we typically do is refinance our primary debt. They're out of the deal. Blue Line owns the project. We maintain it, and we manage it through the compliance period, which in this case is 40 years. We are projecting that the TIF is fully repaid by year 20. We're providing a corporate guarantee for the project, and the city is collecting $2.4 million in interest payments plus the initial $2.2 million in capital improvements. I'll jump into the statutory criteria a little bit. I'm not going to talk about all of them; they're in the packet, but I'll touch on the most important ones. This is an affordable housing development that's 100% affordable. It's for seniors earning 60% AMI or less. We're committed to 40 years of affordability. This is an infill site. This site has been sitting vacant for years, I think for forever. This is the greatest and best use of the site. We're utilizing existing infrastructure for this property. And the most important one is this project is not feasible without a TIF investment. There are no other funding sources available, and I think our industry is not immune to funding cuts at a federal level. But right now, we have funding committed for this project. We have a full capital stack with the exception of TIF. Affordable housing has been a top priority for the city of Rapid City for a number of years now. I just think this is an excellent opportunity for the city to invest in affordable housing for seniors. This project is ready to go. And I do want to reiterate that, we're projecting that the TIF is fully repaid by 20 years. We're providing a corporate guarantee for the loan. And the city is also benefiting to the tune of $2.4 million in interest payments. I think that's about it, but thank you so much for your time. I sure appreciate it. I'd be happy to hang up here and answer any questions that the commission has.
We may have some questions for you, so yes, please. The chair recognizes Mike Quasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question. The Sagebrush project, Sagebrush Flats, how full are those? Are you having trouble renting them? How long have they been on the market?
Thanks. That's a great question. We've had over 300 applications in the last couple months. That process for income qualifying tenants is pretty arduous. There's a lot of hurdles that we need to do. We have 30 approved applications, I believe 35 approved applications. Those units are occupied. I think there's about 15 other applications that are in compliance, meaning we're having a third party review those, and we're getting applications daily. So I think, you know, it's a little bit slower than we had anticipated, but we have zero issue with the market. We know there's a need in the community. We're working actively with the Pennington County Housing Authority to utilize their waiting list. But yes, we are getting applications daily.
Okay. Then could you explain to me how this is affordable housing and you've got a certain rate right now? 10 years from now, that rate will probably go up. How do you determine what the rate is for affordable housing?
That's a good question. And we don't determine the rate. We are committed to maintaining the rent levels at 60% of area median income. And as incomes go up with, you know, inflation and everything like that, those are determined by HUD. So the rates will be always 30% of the tenant's income towards rent. So that it will always have that same corresponding level with the tenant's income.
Then I don't know if you're able to answer this question. The size of this, it includes a lot of existing businesses, buildings, whatever. And I thank you, Mike, for explaining that the size, it was determined to do that so that it could make this affordable. That said, how are those existing affected by this TIF?
The existing, I'm sorry, the existing businesses?
Correct.
I would say it's a net benefit to the community and the area, the existing businesses, more people in the area. There's more customers for existing businesses. And yeah, maybe I'm not the right person to answer that question, but I can certainly make up an answer.
Well, I guess I'm just curious how they're affected. You have, I'm assuming Meals on Wheels, and you have a senior center there. You have several things. Just curious how they're affected.
Mr. Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In regards to the existing businesses or property owners, the TIF district would not affect their tax rates. So if currently they're listed as a nonprofit and they are tax exempt, that would continue. If they are currently on the tax rolls, they would continue to pay their property tax. The only difference is as a property value increases, that additional increase property tax payment would go to help pay off the TIF versus going to the three major taxing entities, which is similar to what's happened in a lot of additional TIFs that have been approved in Rapid City as well as throughout the state. One other point that I did want to bring up, one of the primary points of discussion by the staff was the amount of subsidy that was going into this project, and that was really one of the main hurdles that got the staff to kind of the conflicted recommendation on this project. This is a fairly significant subsidy compared to some of the previous projects that you've seen in the past. The reality of what has caused that subsidy to increase is the fact that this is a fairly small complex, and so there's not a lot of units to spread the hard costs across a lot of additional units. And the other thing is really the relative difficulty of development on the site. There's a lot of topographical challenges that just have to be overcome no matter what. And so that raised the costs of this. But given that we do not have a precedent set for this large of a subsidy, we really felt that was something that the staff probably would not be able to make a recommendation on. With that being said, as the developer has said, low and moderate income housing has been a top priority of the community. And this is a known developer that has provided high quality, low and moderate income housing for the community in a very challenging site. And so just to keep that into consideration as to why the subsidy per unit is as high as it is.
I guess the last question I have, I think that the city of Rapid City, we've built a lot of two-bedroom apartments. And I think that's part of the reason you mentioned, I think, Jason, that you're having a little trouble with the, you were surprised that it's not moving quite as fast on the sagebrush. I think that there's a glut of two-bedroom, and maybe somebody like John Roberts would know better than me what that number is, but it seems like there is a lot of two-bedroom apartments if you go through the listing available. That in itself will drop rents. But I guess I have concerns that as we go forward with the number of two bedrooms that we have, that making this affordable for not only you, but the community as a whole.
Yeah, and I can certainly address that. We are required to maintain affordability levels based on our funding. If we go above our 60% AMIs, we lose our tax credits. Our investor loses the tax credits, and we're on the hook for all of the equity that's already invested into the property. So we cannot increase rents on these. So maintaining affordability levels is, basically rule number one for tax credit development. We will lose our funding. So I don't see any risk to the city from that standpoint for this project in particular, but I certainly can, I certainly see your concern there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Kelly, I know you were next, but you want John to go first? Okay, Chair recognizes Kelly. He takes a second to open it. There.
There we go. Sorry. Thanks, guys. I had two questions. The first question was answered as far as the TIF subsidy being so high, and I assumed it was because of the low number of units. Answered that question. Did I see this correctly? I was looking at the slide presentation. Assessed value of the property is $16,800. Is that a typo, or is that no? Did I see?
It's a vacant lot. That's difficult to build, but I don't know if Mike has. That's what I've found in the tax records.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it's $153 or something like that is the property tax right now.
Okay.
So.
Thanks.
Chair recognizes John Roberts. There you go.
Thank you. Because I'm not a voting member and I will be abstaining from this on the council, I've worked with Blue Line for 7-8 years now, helped them to bring these projects to Rapid City. But I can speak about the property owner to the west of the property, so the Professional Plaza, which is on the corner up there. Keith Carlisle, former mayor, owns this property. He has looked as a real estate agent, developer, broker at projects for many, many years, and because of the challenges of this property, nothing ever happened on that property. There's roughly, from North Street to the bottom of this property, there's about a 40-plus foot slope, which makes it very difficult and challenging to do anything on this property. And the assessment is right. It's a little over an acre of land, but because of the challenges on the property, that's one of the reasons that it's assessed so low. But if you do take, what would be average price for lots like this, especially in the middle of town, Mr. Carlisle is selling this property at about 50 to 60% under what value should be on this property, because he knows how challenging it is to get a project there. In discussing this with him, when we were looking at a project on here, he's very comfortable with it because it's a senior housing project. If it had been just a regular low-income housing project, I don't think he would have had as much he would have been quite as comfortable on it. And looking at the designs, it's something that's really going to enhance that neighborhood. This is probably, in my opinion, one of the most challenging infill lots in Rapid City. And I hope the project can go forward. I think it's something we definitely need. I see it in my personal business every day, the challenge of a lot of seniors, especially on affordable housing, that are looking for places to live. Because, you know, there's not that many places to live. And one of the reasons that this was done at 1 and 2 bedroom units is because it is a senior housing project. They don't necessarily need the 3 bedrooms. But I think Jason could also touch on the fact that you know, the last project they did, I don't know how many 3 bedroom units were in there, but there was a mix, I know, of 3 bedroom units in that one. So anyway, that's just all I had.
Chair recognizes Jason.
Thanks, John. Yeah, we do have, at Sagebrush Flats, we have a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And then also at Discovery Village, it's 2 and 3 bedroom units. So we, for all of our senior projects, we primarily focus on 1 bedrooms because that's the market. But, you know, there are other family situations where that second bedroom is needed, and that's why we're providing 4 2-bedroom units for this deal.
The chair recognizes Haven.
Just, I guess, some comments. It's kind of a unique piece of property, including Minalusahan, the Boys Club, the Journey Museum, and I think that soccer complex or sport field there to the northeast is probably city-owned. I don't know that for sure. But there's also, you know, some other developments in here, including Times Square, the old, now I can't think of the name of the grocery store that was on the corner there that's been vacant for years and years. My question, I suppose, would be how this, I can see some of the properties within this district as actually declining in assessed value over the years. And I think that would have a serious impact on the financial ability of the TIF. You know, and it would be good to develop this lot. And the question I guess I have is, you know, maybe it's because of the complexities of the lot, maybe it's not a lot that should be used for affordable housing because it costs too much to develop the lot as opposed to hopefully other lots around the city. So I guess just some of my comments and concerns about going forward with the TIF.
Mike,
Go ahead.
Do you mind if I address that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think those are very valid points. I think, you know, over the years, I mean, we've developed 3,500 units, many different communities. We have never found that when we develop, you know, a 10 or 11, you know, in Sagebrush Flats, $35 million property, we've never found that it discourages other developments. In fact, I think it's just the opposite. It's if we're putting 10 or 11 million dollars into a development, other developers see that, other property owners see that, and it spurs economic growth in that area. I just that's been our experience in other markets and this market. And then I'm sorry. The other point was, you know, maybe it's not worth developing on this site. I think that's a very valid point. What I would point out, though, is the infrastructure, the foundation systems, the retaining walls, all of that is eligible basis. So we are claiming tax credits on it. So I guess I would say that equates to equity into the deal. So I guess I would say the challenging sites maybe make more sense for tax credit developments, because if we were to buy, John alluded to, you know, maybe 50 or 60% below market value, I think that's probably even low for a site that's commercially zoned, appropriate use for multifamily. It's going to be $2 or $3 million for a couple acres, depending on the location. But we don't get to claim tax credits on the land purchase. So all of the infrastructure, all of the foundation systems, those are all tax credit eligible. So we get funding for that in the form of equity. So I would say that more challenging sites maybe make sense for not just the developer, but as a community, because I think you would be hard pressed to find another developer that can make it pencil without the use of other federal funding sources.
Just to be clear, the answer to Haven's question was from the developer, just for the notes. The chair recognizes Kelly. It takes a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think if the engineers can figure out a way to build on this lot, I think, you know, you're good to go. My question was, oh man, I'm drawing a blank now. I hate it when that happens. I think, you know, building on a difficult lot, I think is a good deal, and having development up in that part of town is not a bad deal. My question was the corporate guarantee, and I guess it's for the staff. Has a corporate guarantee been offered up prior, and has it been accepted by the city? And I'm assuming that's ironclad. I mean, if they guarantee the payoff fleshes out, is that an option for the city to accept?
The chair recognizes Mike Dugan.
So on the Camden Heights Affordable Housing Project, that was a city finance, so the city did act as the bank on that one. So as Jason had stated, the city is collecting the principal and interest payments as far as when the increment comes in towards that. With that project, there is a corporate guarantee, and then there's also 4 members of that corporation. So those 4 members also had issued personal guarantees on the project, just like a bank would. Right. And the bank, or in the city also has a second mortgage behind the primary bank on that property as well. So when the city issues the financing, we do the same thing that a bank does, all the guarantees and the collateral. There is a second city loan, Country Road West TIF is also a city financed loan. That's a smaller one, I believe. That's about $900,000 was the city loan on that. That was the same deal, that there is a corporate and personal guarantees with that.
Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Karen. It just takes a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some concerns about this from a financial standpoint. One of the comments that you made on page 2 in your staff report, you talked about this is a potential for the city to be a junior lien position on the property behind South Dakota Housing and Low Income Housing Trust Fund, or whatever it's called. And for me to say, well, this isn't going to pay off in 20 years, which is, you know, typical. I don't know of anyone that we say, well, it doesn't pay off, we'll figure it out in 20 years or 18 years. That's a long time, and a lot can happen in that, 18, 20-year period. And so we would be saying to the community, we're gonna take over this TIF, we're gonna subsidize it, we're gonna, be the loan person for this of ourselves, and then not guaranteed without the corporate backing, which I understand from Kelly's question, which was a good question. It just makes me apprehensive about saying, as a representative agreeing to this TIF and moving forward, that, yeah, I think this is a good idea to, go forward and say, we hope it pays off in 20 years and hope we all get our money back. And it's just an uneasy feeling that I have. And so it's hard for me to say, yeah, let's go forward. I know that Blue Line Development does a great job, and they're, worldwide, or not nationwide, known, and they've done some great things in the community, and I support low-income housing. I think that's good, especially for the 55 and years and older, since I'm one. I don't plan to go there, but you never know. It just gives me apprehension, about going forward with this TIF. So that's my comments at this point.
Mr. Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are very valid and good comments and very understandable as well. One of the ways that the city could potentially address those concerns is by reducing the interest rate. If the interest rate were lower than the 5%, then it would be paid off, even using the more conservative city projections. However, we did want to try to ensure that we were being equitable and fair compared to our other affordable housing that we provided the financing to, where we have set it at 5%. So even using our projections, if the corporate guarantees and if the personal guarantees were to somehow be insufficient in year 20, and there was still a balance remaining, the balance on the loan would just be at approximately $1 million. To make sure everyone understands, that's actually the compounded interest on it. So the city would have received back the principal that the city invested as well as interest as well. And just to let everyone know, compared to 3 years ago, the average annual interest rate that the city received on our assets was just under 1%. So even if instead of 5%, the city were to receive 4%, which in order for that to happen, 5 different corporate guarantees would have to be somehow null and void, that all the equity would have to disappear in those 20 years. Even if that were to occur, then the actual interest that the community would have gained would be in the neighborhood of about 3%, which would be about 3 times what the city has historically received in the past.
I don't have any other speaker requests. Does the Planning Commission have anything further to discuss? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
The chair recognizes Vicki.
Mike really presented 2 items right now, both the district and the plan.
Right.
And so the first item on the agenda is the district. I encourage you to take your motions separately on both. And just remember, if the district doesn't get approved, then the plan does not go forward.
Okay, we will take the motion separately. So we're just entertaining the motion on 25T1007, the Sunridge Senior Affordable Housing District, TIF. We had a motion? We have a motion from Kelly to approve. Do we have a second? Haven? Chair recognizes Haven Stuck. Did you have a question?
Do we have a second on that motion?
We don't have a second.
I'm concerned about the comments on the interest rate. The banks are all paying CD rates at over 4% today. So at the 1%, that was 3 years ago rates. I don't see, the comments were made about basically the city earning money by charging 5%. That does not make any economic sense to me.
The chair recognizes Mike Dugan. Did you have a question? I don't. No, okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve from Kelly. With no second, I'll second that. Those in favor of the motion?
No.
Sorry.
No, we gotta have discussion. Discussion on the motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I moved ahead, I thought I did that. All right, so now that we have a motion and a second, do we have any further discussion? The chair recognizes Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that as a board, I think we all approve of low-income housing. I think we want something to go forward. I think it's the financial end of it that gives everybody pause. At least that's mine. And I think that's stopping us from trying to encourage this and go forward. My thought is if we decided that this is a good place to have a TIF on this property, we could create the district with this motion, but not go forward with the plan, and see if there's a way that we can work on the financial, whether it's the interest rates or whatever, and make that decision at least it goes forward, at least we're supporting low-income housing. I don't want to say that's a bad idea, but I just think that's an option that we have, and I don't know what you guys think from the finance department.
Yeah, that's
Mike.
that's perfectly acceptable.
Okay.
Just move forward with the district, and then Kinsley might have to help me with this, but, so if the project plan was denied, then I'd go back, or the city would go back and work with the applicant, and the project can come back to planning commission at a future date.
Okay.
If the district was denied, then it just stops.
Yeah. Okay, well, in that light, I'm going to make a motion that we just approve the creation of the district and come back later with a project plan and see if that makes us more comfortable in low-income housing.
We have an amendment, or Vicky, go ahead.
It's a substitute.
We are right now just talking about the district.
Right.
The motion on the floor is to approve. It has been seconded.
Yes.
And then when you get to the second item, you could have that discussion. But remember, whatever you do here today will go on to council, and council will make the final decision as to whether or not this plan is appropriate as it's presented today.
Okay, so first, I made the motion. Was there a second to my motion?
No, actually, we have a motion from Kelly to approve, a second from me. This is just for the district. Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
creation of the district. We haven't moved on to
Oh,
the
okay.
second, to
Okay.
item.
Sorry,
the next
I thought we
item,
were
yeah.
doing both together. Okay,
Okay.
that's fine, that's
All right.
fine.
But Haven, you have something?
I just wanted to echo some of the comments that Karen made. You know, the applicant, you know, has done some great work, and we certainly are supportive of the work that the applicant has done, and also supportive of low-income housing. So whatever we can do in that regard, we're certainly certainly would approve something like that. I still have some concerns, however, with the way the district, this TIF district is proposed.
And Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to qualify kind of what you're saying, Vicki. If we approve the creation of the district, that goes forward. The project plan, as we denied it, that goes forward also. So it gets to council. The council could approve both the district and the plan as it stands. Well, that doesn't make me excited.
Mr. Chair.
It's okay. Chair recognizes Vicky.
So the planning commission, if they do not approve the district, it stops here. The plan cannot go forward unless planning commission approves the district. But you're just making a recommendation on the plan. City council has the authority to make the final decision on the plan.
Okay, well, that doesn't help my idea of what,
Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
We do have the city attorney, and Chair recognizes city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it's actually that if the district is approved, then that would go forward to council. But if you deny the plan, it would not go forward to, the plan itself would not go forward to council. It would have to come back through planning commission first.
That's the way I understood it. All right. Without, and the chair recognizes Mike Quasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we do not do the district, how long, next meeting, they could come back with a different plan? So it's just a matter of, there's no time limit that, okay.
Mr. Chair,
Chair recognizes Mike.
and Kinsley might have to help me with this as well. If the district was denied, they could reapply, but I think those boundaries have to change. Or can it come back with the same boundary?
Chair recognizes Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if the district was denied, they could come back with an application for the same district.
With no further discussion, we will call for a vote. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those who oppose? Aye. Can we have a roll call?
Quasny? Arwelo? Stuck? Bowman? Vidal?
Aye.
Gallagher? Hikus? Bailey? I have 6-2, motion passes.
6-2, motion passes. The public hearing on item, let's see. 25T1007 is now closed. The public hearing on item 25T1008 is now open. Do we have any speakers?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So
Chair
you-
recognizes Vicky.
You saw the presentation by Mike and the discussion that was primarily just in regards to this item, which is the plan. So if you have any questions for the applicant or staff, let us know. Otherwise, you're probably ready for a motion on
Yeah.
this one, too.
Okay, do we have a motion on item 25T1008? We have a motion to deny from Mike Gallagher and a second from Eric Hikus. All those in favor? I'm sorry. Oh, do we have any further comments or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The motion is denied. Oh, the motion passed. Sorry.
So,
Denial
Mr. Chair.
passed. Denied as, passed as denied.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Go ahead, Vicky.
Just for the sake of clarification for the applicant, Kinsley, could you help the applicant understand what that motion means and what options they have?
Right.
So the motion was to deny the approval of the project plan. So at this point, the applicant can work with staff and work on the idea of a new project plan to be able to come forward to Planning Commission again.
Okay, so we're on to the Staff Planning Commission discussion items. Do we have any, does the staff have any items to discuss?
Just that with our new Planning Commission member, we also have 2 new City Council members. And as a result of that, we will be putting together our Planning 101 and Plating 101 training sessions. And if any of you would like a refresher course, we'll loop you back into those training sessions as well. But it's advantageous if everyone gets to hear that exciting training at least once. We'll let you know what dates those will be.
Does the Planning Commission have any questions? Okay. There being no further business, Mike Gallagher made the motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Karen seconded it. We are adjourned. Sorry, guys, if I confused anybody.